Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 627 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Sarah Outlaw. And if you want to hear our conversation about how to create 100,000 patient visits in 10 years, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I've listened to myself say this about 1,000,000 times, so I'm really excited for this episode. And today I have Sarah Outlaw. I'll let her tell you all about herself and her certifications. She's got multiple practices, and we're going to talk about her certifications and the responsibility that takes. And actually, if she sleeps at night, she has a blog called Real Life Outlaw, which I think is something that we create these things to connect with people and to educate people. We just had a pre-interview chat, and probably every fifth word out of her mouth was education. And I'm really excited to let her educate everyone on why she does what she does. But before we get into her story, I'm going to tell you why we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle. Well, first things first is freedom of speech. We protect freedom of speech with our show. We've never shadow banned anybody. We've never censored anybody, and we've never removed anybody's content from our platform, which I think is huge because we know what it's like to be shadow banned, traffic throttled, and censored. So we would never do that to anyone else. We also believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. This is probably right up Sarah's alley because when it comes to it, I believe everybody should find somebody to get their knowledge from to heal themselves. That's a big part of our topics today is health is in your hands. So choose. You have to fix yourself. It's not the doctor's responsibility to fix you. The #1 doctor in the world is the one inside of your body. And the doctor that you're going to go see, whether they're a functional medicine doctor or holistic healer or chiropractor, they're the ones that are going to give you the guidance to heal yourself. So be aware on your healing journey and find out where to go and who to trust. And then if you are curious about where to find a medical provider, reach out to a chiropractor specifically, and they will guide you for medical freedom and family health freedom. We protect BJ Palmer's Sacred Trust. That's BJ Palmer's last words. If you don't know what that means, go to the show notes and check out BJ Palmer's Sacred Trust. You're going to learn more about chiropractic than you previously did before you listen to this episode, I guarantee you. And then the last bits of our show is we support subluxation-based chiropractic, and we believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. We believe that when man or woman, the physical, gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. And with that, Sarah Outlaw, welcome to the show. You're 627.
Thanks, James. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is where it gets good. It's not just me talking anymore. It's you.
Yeah.
And you said you had a healing journey as to how you got to where you are today. I think it would be important for our listeners to hear that. So maybe this is a reintroduction to your patients, your friends, your family, your colleagues, to where they can say, oh, that's Sarah. That's why she does what she does. So share with us a little bit about how you got to where you are today on your healing journey.
Yeah, sure. I will keep the long story short for that one. So when I was 7 years old, I was bitten by a tick and I didn't get a rash or anything. So my parents didn't think anything of it. So fast forward to my college years, I developed some pretty serious digestive issues and pretty debilitating. I wasn't going to the bathroom like at all, like for like a month. Like it was really bad. Fast forward again to my husband was in the military. I went with him to Germany. I wanted to work in a veterinary treatment facility. I was 20 years old at the time. I was required to, and didn't know any better, to get some injections. And I got them because I didn't know any better, and my health immediately spiraled. So if you know anything about Lyme disease, and if the viewers know that sometimes if you get an injection, it can activate things that are dormant in the body. And the Lyme was dormant at that time, I believe. And then when I got the injections, all of a sudden, all hell broke loose in my body. And I did not know what hit me. All of a sudden, it just felt like I felt like a different person. I started gaining weight. My brain just went into this constant state of fogginess, headaches, just debilitating symptoms. So I went to the on-base doctor. They told me I was depressed, didn't do any tests, and just gave me a prescription for antidepressants. And even at age 20, I knew better. And it said, this is ridiculous. I was fine this day. And on this day, I wasn't. I'm not depressed. I'm having the time of my life. I work in my dream job. I always wanted to be a veterinarian. And I was living overseas, traveling, doing all the things that any 20-year-old would only dream of being able to do, being that young and living on my own, with my husband and doing all this fun stuff. But I couldn't, because I was literally like, my health was going down the toilet. And the only solution was to go on antidepressants. So I lost faith in the medical system at that very moment. And I said, I'm going to have to figure out my own way here. And I walked out of that doctor's office very, very hopeless, but determined that I was going to figure this out for myself. So I started a journey of figuring things out. I actually had my first daughter. She's going to be 23. And I had her when I was in Germany. And when we got back to the States, she was 5 weeks old. I took her to the on-base doctor, not the on-base, off-base doctor. And they told me she was behind on her injections and that I had to catch her up. And again, 22 years old at this point, didn't really know any better because I hadn't gotten to that point in my research. I did what they told me to do because they said if I didn't, they were going to turn me into CPS for negligence of medical care, which is ridiculous. And knowing what I know now, I know how ridiculous that is. And she had a terrible reaction. The doctor, when I called, said that she's reacting, she's screaming, she has 105 fever. What do I do? And they said, oh, just give her, Tylenol and ibuprofen alternated and she'll be fine. That's normal. Well, it's not normal to have your kid screaming bloody murder for no reason and to have a fever that's 105 after an injection. It's just not normal. So she has had metabolic issues her whole life. We have dealt with a lot of detoxing because she got all of my junk from me because I wasn't detoxed yet, plus what she had on top of that. So we've had this journey of healing, both she and I. I have 5 children. One of my daughters is adopted. And I've also had 6 miscarriages. So my journey of healing has been one of a lot of loss and a lot of not knowing what was going on with my health. It actually wasn't until I was 35 years old that I finally got answers. So during my entire time of having my children, I have very little memory of those years because once Lyme progresses in someone's body untreated, it can eventually go into the brain and becomes what they call neurological Lyme. And that's what I was dealing with. So my memory was impaired. My speech was impaired. I wasn't able to put sentences together at one point where I would speak and what I thought was coming out of my mouth was not, and people couldn't understand me. So as someone who talks a lot, I'm Italian. I talk with my hands. I'm very communicative. That was one of the most frustrating things, to not be able to speak to people properly and to not be understood. And foods were reacting. I would eat things like rice and not be able to walk. So I was having a lot of MS symptoms and I was really scared about that. And doctors said there wasn't anything wrong with me. They're like, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. And I'm like, I'm not fine. I'm literally feel like I'm dying here. So it wasn't until I actually went to a chiropractor who did muscle testing. And they said, hey, this is likely what's happening with you. And I started on this path of healing at that point. So I had been muscle tested previously by a nutritionist, a dietitian, actually, when I lived in California, and she started giving me some answers. So then I kind of just progressed through that. Finally decided, no, this is the only thing that's going to help me. Went back to school, worked for a chiropractor and did muscle testing in his office, and then opened my own practice. And it kind of just expounded from there. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell of healing.
Well, there's a lot there. So I'm going to unpack a little bit. So I'm not going to touch on all of it, but one of the things I just want to let people know is if people know what we know, they would do what we do.
Yeah.
And that's just it, is when you were the young mom, when you were almost the victim of the health industry.
Mhm.
Um, and then your child became that,
Yeah.
a casualty also, because there is a lot of fear out there, and there's a lot of um, like lack of knowledge. And I think that that's why I believe that you're so heavy with educating people. And um, I call it sharing the secret. And in chiropractic, we call it the big idea. And
Yeah.
I think it's really cool that you got your fundamentals back on your healing journey from having integration at a chiropractic
Yeah.
office.
Mhm.
Um, and off camera, I was telling you, like, I didn't tell you this part, but I worked with two clinics for 6 years. So I was a rehab tech,
Mhm.
and I saw a lot of people, and I'd have to sit people down just out of my heart. And I'd say, look, you are not your symptoms.
Right.
Um, and I think that that's a big thing for people to understand, is everybody like understands that, like, Lyme is serious.
Yeah.
And like I was saying earlier, like a blown disc in somebody's spine is serious,
Right.
but there is recovery. And that's a really important thing for people to know too, is you have to be active, and you have to invest, and you have to be willing to be active and invest at the same time to get yourself back to health. And you can't just say, hey, Dr. Sarah, take care of me and make me better. Like,
Right.
you're their guide. Like, you can only guide them. They have to actually do the work themselves and invest for themselves. So I think that that's where we've kind of lost our way, and understanding the paradigm of accountability. And when we have some type of a symptom, we have to be an active participant, and we have to, like, do as somebody says, because they're actually the ones that are going to help us get out of the mess. But we have to find that trust, right?
Right. Definitely.
Um, so now I put a little bit of I guess, closure to some of the things you're sharing there, and a little bit of my stamp on it. Let's talk to people about what it's like to be involved with multiple offices, because I think that there's a lot of people out there that's like, once they make it, that's their dream. What has it been like for you to, like, expand? I know you said you've helped 100,000 patient visits in 10 years.
Yeah.
What has it been for you to expand? But what also is it like for you to manage all that?
Yeah. So my goal as a practitioner when I started was to help as many people I could to avoid the use of unnecessary drugs and surgeries. That's kind of my mission. And we see a lot of people, we're high volume practice, and there wasn't anyone. So I started my practice in New Jersey, and there wasn't a practitioner who did what I did at my level, advanced muscle testing at my level in Iowa at the time when I was asked to come here. So I was actually invited to come to Iowa to open a clinic in the Des Moines area, to not only open a clinic for patients, but also to train people in the modality of advanced muscle testing so that we can train people. So mostly chiropractors. So my job basically was to train mostly chiropractors to do this, to add it to their practice so they could add that nutritional element to the practice, because there is such a nutritional need in the country. So I did that. And then I did that in 2018. I expanded to Iowa. And then I decided to open a office in South Carolina, which I'm actually going to close because I don't need it, because I'm doing a lot of virtual now. So I realized that because I can do what I do more virtually, I don't have to keep going into, because I was gonna open as many states as possible, as many clinics as possible, to help as many people as I could. But with moving more towards being able to virtually muscle test, which I can through quantum nutrition testing, through Dr. Lisa Palmer-Dean, I'm able to use what I have learned over the last few years to help people no matter where they are. So I don't have that physical limitation now of having to be, oh, I have to go this state and this state and this state. I don't have to do that anymore. So why do it? Why, if I can do it this way, continue to travel? It's wear and tear. I traveled for almost 3 years every other week. I was living 10 days a month in Des Moines for almost 3 years, traveling back and forth every other week to see patients. And then I was going to South Carolina once a month. So managing 3 clinics 1,000 miles apart, almost like a triangle of states, is not an easy thing. It's been very, very difficult, in fact, and especially with staff. So I can manage myself. Me, myself, and I, we're good. We can manage ourselves here. But when it comes to managing staff in multiple locations, that has been probably the most difficult challenge that I have faced over the last few years. And there's been a lot that has come out of that. So I learned a lot. I'm still not perfect. There's still a lot to learn for, managing from afar. But that my original goal, I think my heart was in the right place, where I have to help all these people because they need my help. But if I could go back and do it over again, I probably would not have done it. I probably would have stayed in New Jersey, in my home state, and I would have figured it out from there. So, and maybe just had other locations within my own state. It's the traveling that really got me burnt out.
Yeah, I think that that's important for other practitioners that listen to our show and students that listen to our show to hear this.
Yeah.
Because, I think that there is a huge responsibility when it comes, one of the first things they ever told me when I worked in a clinic was our job's to help more people. And I think it is a badge of honor. And I tell people, I just had a talk in Michigan over the weekend, and one of the anchors was, if we don't tell people the truth about chiropractic, then someone else will close them for drugs or surgery.
Yeah.
And, it sounds really ugly, but it's true. And most people just don't know where to go or who to trust. That's a theme too. And if we can become that beacon of light, that lighthouse for people, it doesn't matter if you're brick and mortar or if you're a online presence, because people come to you for your expertise. And if there's a way to help more people faster and you can limit the stress on you, that's also really important, because I think that a lot of times people, they don't understand how much it takes to actually expand and grow, and what that takes, what the type of energy that takes. And that's why I was curious, with all the things that you're doing, do you actually sleep?
I do. Yes, I do prioritize. I've learned to prioritize my own self-care over the last few years, more than the looking at the long picture, because I realized how important it was that I really couldn't care for others if my own cup was empty. And I'm the one preaching to all of these moms that you have to fill your cup. So if mine was empty, then I'm a hypocrite. So for me, I had to take a step back and say, you know what? I took care of myself in the beginning. I got myself better. I healed myself. I'm healthy now. Now I have to keep myself healthy, keep my cup filled. And I've had a couple of incidences over the last couple of years. I was bitten by a dog, almost lost my right hand a year and a half ago. I had a subsequent injury where I was actually paralyzed for a little bit. So those types of things in the last couple of years, I had to take a step back and say, you know what? You got to make sure you're taking care of yourself, Sarah, because you have all these people who are depending on you for care. So I always tell all my moms, all the women who come to see me, I usually see spouses, and usually men don't come directly to me. It's usually a spouse that'll come. But they're the ones who I have to be able to say, you know what? I've gone through this. You have to fill your own cup. You can't be the one taking care of everybody all the time.
Do you think that some of the things that have happened to you physically, somehow in a roundabout way taught you more empathy?
Oh, for sure. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Because growing up, my mom said I never cried when I was a kid. I was the kid that I would get angry, not cry. So I was the one, as I grew up, that everybody would come to when they had something that happened, because they knew that I would be emotionally stable. So I remember when my sister, and I had to put one of her dogs to sleep, and she had me come with her because she knew I wasn't going to break down. So I'm able to sit there, and because of all the things I've gone through my entire life, my best friend was actually killed in an accident when I was around 8 years old. My next door neighbor, my best friend, was killed in a dirt bike accident. And so probably from like that moment on in my life, I can understand what other people are feeling, understanding what watching his parents and watching people grieve, and just learning at a very young age what all of these different emotions were like. My dad's a pastor, so being around people as they went through lots of different things, and just observing And I remember even observing one of the guys in my dad's church was a huge conspiracy theorist. I learned at probably 6 or 7 years old the truth about JFK Jr. Like I was literally, or JFK, the assassination, because I would sit there and just listen. I'm that kind of person where I don't talk a lot unless talked to. And being able to observe even at a young age what other people were thinking, feeling, saying has really shaped how I am as a practitioner, to be able to sit there and just listen. Because nobody listens to people. You go to a doctor's office, you get 5 minutes of their time and you're like, what just happened? Like, I don't even know what just happened here. So my goal is when someone comes in as a new patient, they get that time in that initial consultation to really be able to tell me what's been happening, what led you to this point, what made you come to want to see me in my practice? How can I help you? So yes, empathy is huge.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle.
Yeah.
That takes me to the next jump, is now that you're in such demand, how do you manage your systems and not get into a state of overwhelm and be like, okay, I'm going to work till 8 o'clock tonight when I'm supposed to cut off at 5?
Yeah. I set up some boundaries over the last couple of years because that's what was happening. And
I can see now,
yeah. Yeah, I had to put boundaries up, because what was starting to happen was my personal Facebook inbox was filling with people asking me clinical questions. I was giving out I don't do it anymore. I was giving out my phone number. So I was getting inundated with people off hours. So we've made it very clear. Everyone who comes to our practice knows that we do not answer emails after hours. We don't answer phone. We don't answer the phone if it's the weekend. So, my team has families too. We're not an emergency clinic. So we really make sure that everyone who comes to see us knows that these are our hours and I'm not available outside of those hours, because it was to the point where I was getting one Sunday off and wasn't really off because I was still getting messages a month. And I completely burnt out because people were it was just constant. And it was just to the point where I can't do it to this level. So now it's so much more, I don't know. I have so much more peace now because I know, okay, I'm going to go home. I have my family. I have this. I live on a farm. I have 6 horses. I have 40 chickens. I have, 4 dogs. I have a life. I have a life outside of being a doctor. So that's important to me to have that life, especially now that I'm in my mid-40s. I want to be able to enjoy my own life, my own health, my own family. And I encourage other people to do the same. I always tell people, you wouldn't track your medical doctor down on Facebook and send him a personal message in the middle of the night. I don't think you would. So please give me that same respect to not do that, because it doesn't help anybody's care. I'm not going to muscle test you in the middle of the night anyway, so.
Well, once again, this is really important for people that watch our show to understand about these practitioners that are in demand.
Right.
Like there is an opportunity to be under care, but also, and to be, acknowledged and to be seen for your conditions. Right. But there's also one of my best friends would always tell me, James, may you get what you want and want it once you get it. And I think that that's a thing also with the success of a practitioner. There's this idea that there's this if we get it and we don't, well, let me put it this way. We see people that are not living abundant. Mm-hmm. And there's a point where we're all start there. And then when the abundance clicks on, how do we manage that? And I think that was a really good explanation of once you do become in demand and you get busy, how do we partition that down to where you actually have a quality of life outside of being in demand and being busy? Because
Right.
I think we don't know what we don't know once again. And then when you get there, how do you manage that and not lose yourself and that idea that, wow, now I'm the most popular doctor on planet Earth and I'm helping all these people, but my personal life is suffering and I'm not sleeping and people are sending me messages at all hours of the day and I just don't know how to keep up with it. So that was really a good response to how do you manage it when you're in demand and how do you like calm down people to know that these are the hours that we work and work within our guidelines or finding somewhere else. And
Right.
I think it's really responsible. And I know a big part of that is marketing. I mean, I've watched your stories on Facebook and I don't know how you do it, but you make like 10 posts on a story a day. And I'm like, how does she do this?
I
But
really like that. I enjoy that. That's something I really do like.
I can tell. But let's talk a little bit about that, like marketing and branding.
Mhm.
What do you like and what works for you and what should other people try for themselves?
Yeah, I really enjoy giving information. So a lot of my posts are tips, education, just bringing up things that they might not know about. I talk about the vagus nerve this week because this was something that's been coming up in practice a lot. I do body code, which is an emotional muscle testing technique. So vagus nerve and cranial nerves come up a lot in body code. So I address that and just keeping people, I guess, kind of involved with me, but not too much. So I'm really careful to keep my personal. I share very little. I share about my chickens. Sometimes I share a little about my kids, but I have mostly colleagues. I mean, I have most of my friends are colleagues on my Facebook. So I'm careful about not just, I don't the whole diary thing on Facebook where I share all my personal intimate details. I try not to do that because it doesn't serve the community well, right? So my goal for my social media is to have people see me for the real person that I am, for Sarah, and to understand that yes, I'm a practitioner, but I'm also a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a farm girl. I love my farm. I love my animals. To get to know me so that if they do want to come and see me as a practitioner, they already trust me. They feel like they know me. They have a rapport even before they've stepped in my door or stepped into my virtual space. And so my marketing reflects that. It reflects what I want people to understand about me and my practice and what I do.
So let's talk about the Real Life Outlaw blog. Did that
Mhm.
happen because you wanted to educate people, or did you create that because you thought you might get more clients from it?
So I created that before I was even a practitioner. That actually used to be realfoodoutlaws.com. Unfortunately, somehow that domain was stolen out from under me. We don't know how it happened. That's a long story. It's a very weird story. But so I rebranded it to Real Life Outlaw. But it was probably 15 years ago. And this is long before I was a practitioner. I was a food blogger and I was in with all of the famous food bloggers and we were in a network and I was cranking out food pictures. And that was my nutrition thing. That's what I did. So it did not start in any way, shape, or form about trying to get clients. I didn't have any. I wasn't even I had nothing. I had no certifications, nothing back then. So it kind of evolved into what it is now, which is basically just like a little bit of an information hub. I don't post there a whole lot, but I do have the podcast. I have another website, which is rootcausebloodwork.com, where I do a lot of functional blood work type of programs on that. And my podcast is brand new this year. So I just started a podcast brand new. So I have a few episodes because I'm just getting started on that. But that's kind of my venture. But I do get patients from the podcast who've heard it. I do get patients from the blog who've read some of those things. I get patients from the website. A lot of people find the social media though. So I guess my number one source of patients outside of word of mouth referrals would be Facebook and Instagram, because people see those posts, it piques their interest. They have parasites. They see things that I post about Lyme, and parasites, and mold, and heavy metals, and toxins, and how to read their own blood work, and how bacteria equals pain, and viruses equals fatigue. And they learn all of these things, and like, I need to know more. So that's basically where people start to come and call our office.
So with creating a podcast, you know what it means that we're at 627.
Yes, it's huge because man, me cranking out and trying to get anything double digits is like, it's hard. And
Yeah.
I don't have haven't done interviews. So during the the pandemic, I did like a video podcast where I interviewed a lot of my favorite practitioners just like this, live on Facebook. And every single week for pretty much that whole year, we did interviews just like you and I are doing. And that was my first real introduction into podcasting. And I loved it. I loved getting together with people for like 30 minutes a week, different people from all over the country, and talking about their experiences with what they were seeing, how they were handling it. It was awesome. So I kind of wanted to translate that over into now 2024. And right now it's just me talking for right now to build up. And then we're going to start bringing in some guests. So it's fun. It's a little side thing for me.
Well, let me ask you this part then. Why do you think what you do works for people?
What I do as far as my modality?
Mm-hmm.
Because the innate intelligence of the body gives us answers. So the autonomic nervous system is giving us the answers that we need. The truth is in there. Your body knows what it has going on. And all we have to do is unlock that innate intelligence and pull out that information. When we have that information, we can find the reason for why they're having their symptoms. So then we get to the true root cause of those symptoms and then solve their health issues and then get them on that path. And then they're better.
And how do you manage somebody that's been at it for a decade and they've tried multiple practitioners and they've been on every pill, potion, and lotion under the sun, and then they get to you? How do you manage that type of case?
They're harder because they've been through it all. Sometimes they've even seen other muscle testing practitioners. So I just approach it as I'm different. How I test is different. I'm very, my intuition is really, really good. So I can look, and I have lots of training in observing physical things too, like tongue, eyes, skin. I have all of that naturopathic training as well. So, looking at someone I can see, and then looking at just, even just their lab. So the whole thing together, all of my training that I've done, pulling everything I've done in, it gives me the ability to really see the actual truth for whatever that's worth to people. So I know what's going on.
So do you think a lot of times people start responding better because of their belief and because of how you can help them crack the code on their blood and help you crack the code on like their symptomatology? And then they're like, wow, I believe in what you tell me. I'm going to follow everything you say. But I think that just from me observing what you're talking about, like the person really has to be like, they have to believe that you're the one to give them the guidance.
It's the confident. I think that what draws people in, and what I've been told by other people who have observed me, that they say it's the confidence that I exude, that I know I can get someone well. I'm not going to say this. I'll rephrase that. I know I can help someone get well. Like I know I have those tools. I know I have the ability to find what's going on. I am relentless when it comes to being a detective. If you have something going on, I am going to find it. I'm going to find what it is, and we're going to handle it. Just because, and the reason I'm like that is because nobody could find out what was wrong with me for 2 decades. So not being able to have that found in me makes me really determined to not have anyone ever go through what I have gone through, because it was horrible. I wish I could hit the rewind button. I want my 20s back. I want my 30s back, but I'll never get them. So I don't want anyone else to miss their 20s and 30s because of someone missing something. So people will come to me for second opinions, and I'll say, I'll test you. And whether or not you decide to go back to your previous practitioner or come to me, this is the answer. Practitioners miss things all the time. That's just how this works. Not everybody has training in anatomy and physiology. There's practitioners doing muscle testing who don't have backgrounds in physiology, anatomy. They don't know things. So that's why it was really important for me to go back to school and get all of that education, get the foundation, get the basics down in my brain, so that when someone comes to me, I know the physiological process. I know the biochemical processes of what their body's actually doing. I know the Krebs cycle. I know all of these things that actually make a difference in how you're even supplementing. A lot of people don't even know like the physiology of actual supplementation, like what that supplement does, the ingredients in it, how they work together, and how it works in the body. They just take like 50 things and think, oh, it's just going to fix me. They all work a certain way. it's important, I feel like, for a practitioner to at least have a basic understanding of those things, so that when they're putting protocols together or they're doing whatever they're doing in their modality, that it's intelligent.
Well, we're coming up on the edge of our time together, but I'm curious. I'm sure you've seen a lot of things happening out of your 100,000 patient visits in 10 years.
Yeah.
Maybe share with me a miracle story that you've seen that really touches your heart, that might inspire our audience and might give someone hope.
Yeah. So this is actually an instance where we had to refer out because we found something and we actually were able to save someone's health. We had a patient, this was actually more in the beginning of my practice. She was having serious issues where she was fainting. She would have seizures. She couldn't drink water, all of these things. And in the muscle testing, and I was very, very new at that point. This is when I first started. We found that her brain area was not muscle testing strong, no matter what we did. So I said to her, I said, I think we need to get an MRI. There's something not right here. And she went and got she didn't want to do it, but she went and got the MRI, and there was a golf ball sized tumor on her brain. And it was literally killing her. And she went and got that removed. She went from literally being almost like this all the time and sleeping, like, to having another baby and being a vibrant woman again. And we were able to heal her after the getting it taken out, because it was on the brainstem. It was one of those things where it had to be removed, to being able to restore her health. And I feel like that was an instance where people are like, "Oh, Sarah, you're against modern medicine 100%." I'm like, no, there is a time and a place for that. And no one was finding it. We thought she had Lyme. There was other things we thought was going on, but that was a time where we said, okay, we're going to refer you to get this taken care of, and then we're going to fix you. So that was one of the main miracles that we've had. We also had someone basically who said that she thought she was at the end of her life and was not able to do anything. She was just debilitated, and we were able to find out what she had going on, and complete turnaround. And it was a short time. It only took a few weeks. Complete 180. So we see those routine miracles every single day. I have testimonial after testimonial, people saying, we helped her get her life back, or we helped him get his life back. Just all of those types of things. Helping autistic kids being able to speak again is always such a joy. And helping autistic kids is something that we do a lot of. And just helping people. Someone with head to toe eczema, literally wrapped in gauze. He looked like a mummy. This was one of my male patients who came in. He looked like he had leprosy, and being able to 100, do a complete 180 and have beautiful, clear skin again, no eczema breakouts, and finding what was causing that. So those are the types of things that we see every single day. And that's what brings us joy.
Well, I'm really proud of you. I know we don't hear that enough from other people that are colleagues and friends. And I think that the more that we support each other, the more that we can help more people. And that's why we do what we do over here. I just want to keep supporting this beautiful profession of chiropractic. And I love that how you've integrated into the profession and you're helping more people. Is there anything that I didn't ask you today that you think you would like to share with our audience?
The only thing I just always like to leave people with anytime I talk to them is to make sure that you are making yourself a priority, because you can't fill from an empty cup. And that if your health is really the only thing that you have. And without your health, you don't have anything, because you can't do anything else in life without being healthy. So prioritize it, because you're worth it.
One of my favorite quotes, I don't know who said this, but if a man or woman has their health, they have a million dreams. If they don't, they have one. Mm-hmm. And that's to get healthy. Sarah, thanks for being our guest today. If people want to work with you or learn more about you, or get you to crack the code on their blood work and their physiology, where do we send them to?
They can go to nhiccenters.com. is my site for my clinics. You can see me virtually or in person.
And that is NHICCenters.com.
Correct.
And that is episode 627 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Thanks for being our guest today.
Thank you, James. It was an honor.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. There was a lot to unpack there. And if you guys catch it at the end of this episode, please like, comment, and share. And I close out all the time by telling you, you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.